Here's a weird question. Why can a little piece of paper in your wallet buy you a burger, a tank of gas, or even a plane ticket? But a leaf from a tree outside can't buy you anything at all. Both are just objects. Both are easy to find. So what makes one worth everything and the other worth nothing? The answer involves ancient kings, a surprise move by a US president, and the wildest idea in human history, that money only works because we all agree it does. Today, we're breaking down how money actually works, not just coins and bills, but why money exists, how it got its value, and what's really backing the dollars in your pocket right now. Spoiler, it's not gold. It hasn't been since 1971. By the end of this video, you'll understand something that most people never stop to think about, even though they use money every single day. Let's get into it. A long time ago, we're talking around 6000 BC, there was no such thing as money. If you needed something, you traded for it directly. You had apples, your neighbor had bread, you swapped. Simple enough, right? This system is called barter, and it worked okay when life was simple. But barter had a massive problem. What if you had apples, but the person with bread didn't want apples? They wanted milk. And the person with milk wanted shoes. And the shoemaker wanted apples, but only next Tuesday. Economists call this the double coincidence of wants. Both people have to want exactly what the other has, at the exact same time. In real life, this was a nightmare. It slowed everything down and made complex trade basically impossible. People needed something better, something everyone would accept, anytime, anywhere. So people started using objects that had wide appeal as a middle step in trade. Cowrie shells were used across Asia and Africa as early as 1200 BC. Salt was so valuable in ancient Rome that soldiers were sometimes paid with it. That's actually where the word salary comes from. Over time, metals became the favorite. Gold and silver didn't rot, didn't spoil, could be divided into smaller pieces, and were rare enough to feel special. The big leap came around 600 BC in an ancient kingdom called Lydia, in what is now Western Turkey. The Lydians made the world's first official coins, small round discs stamped with a lion's head, made from electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver found in nearby riverbeds. This was a game changer. A coin stamped by a government meant you could trust its weight and value. No more arguing over whether a piece of metal was pure enough. Coins spread fast. The Greeks picked it up. Then the Romans. Then everyone. For thousands of years, coins were money, and the metal they were made of was the value. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Carrying heavy metal coins everywhere was a pain, especially if you were a merchant traveling hundreds of miles to trade. In China, during the Song dynasty, around the year 1000 AD, merchants came up with a clever workaround. They'd deposit their coins with a trusted shop or government official and get a paper certificate in return. When they arrived at their destination, they could hand over the paper and get coins back. This was the world's first paper money, called jiaozi. The genius part? Paper is light. You could carry the value of thousands of coins in your pocket. The scary part? It only worked if people trusted the paper. And trust is a fragile thing. China actually ran into serious inflation problems early on, when more paper was printed than there were coins to back it up. A lesson the world would keep relearning, over and over. Fast forward to the 1800s and early 1900s. Most major countries had adopted what's called the gold standard. Every dollar, or pound, or franc was backed by a set amount of gold sitting in a vault somewhere. If you had a $20 bill, you could theoretically walk into a bank and exchange it for $20 worth of gold. This made people feel secure. The paper meant something real. But after World War II, the U.S. had most of the world's gold reserves, and the dollar became the world's go-to currency. In 1944, 44 countries agreed to peg their currencies to the U.S. dollar, and the dollar was fixed to gold at $35 per ounce. This was called the Bretton Woods system. It worked for a while, but by 1971, the U.S. was spending heavily, funding a war in Vietnam, running big government programs, and printing more dollars than it had gold to back up. On August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon went on national television and announced that the U.S. dollar would no longer be convertible to gold. Just like that, the dollar was cut loose from gold forever. So what backs the dollar today? Nothing physical, no gold, no silver, no commodity of any kind. The dollar, and basically every currency in the world, is what's called fiat money. Fiat is a Latin word that roughly means by decree. The government says it has value, and so it does. Here's a wild fact. It costs the U.S. government about 4 cents to print a $1 bill. That same bill can buy things worth, well, $1. The difference? Collective belief. Fiat money works because everyone, the person selling coffee, the landlord collecting rent, the bank handling your savings, agrees it works. It's one of the most successful shared agreements in the entire history of civilization. But this also means trust is everything. If people stopped believing in a currency, it could collapse. It's happened before, and it's happened fast. So let's bring this all together. Money exists because direct barter was too slow and too complicated. People invented commodity money, shells, salt, and metal coins as a trusted middle step. China invented paper money around 1,000 years ago. The world ran on the gold standard until 1971, when Nixon cut the dollar loose from gold forever. And today, money is purely fiat. It has value because we all agree it does. That's the whole arc of money. From swapping apples to trusting a piece of paper. If this blew your mind a little, hit that subscribe button. See you in the next one.